is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Penny Dreadful, Season 3, Episode 6, No Beast So Fierce. In this episode, Ding Dong, the witch is dead. I'm so glad she's dead, guys.
Yeah.
For real. Like, I was just so fucking done with her. And maybe now he'll, like, have some sense back in his head. Because I don't know what the hell they were just trying to do with that. But I'm not here for it. Welcome to Unspoiled. I like how all my intros have become my intros have all become like half podcasts where I just kind of go off a little bit too long and then I'm like, oh wait, intro. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like pithy and a short introduction instead of just like, I fucking hate Hecate! And then go on for a while. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was real glad. I was real done with her, especially like at the dinner table. She was driving me nuts.
Oh my
just shut up.
God.
Just shut up. This isn't about you.
Just tell me
when I can strike. Yeah.
Shut up.
Some things aren't about you, Hecate. Just shut up.
And it didn't help that, like, I still kind of low-key wanted Ethan to not be serious about any of this. So her constantly being like, tell me, I'll do it. Come on. I was just waiting for him to just be like, oh my God, you can't tell yet that I'm full of shit? But it turns out that, like, he wasn't full of shit, which makes me even more mad. This is, like, one of the only real missteps of this show, I feel like, is this weird thing with Ethan and her. So I almost, like, want to give the writers the benefit of the doubt and be like, maybe they just, like, knew they were misstepping and just decided to kill her because they didn't know where the fuck they were going to go with this otherwise. Which, sure, that's fine. Go ahead.
I mean, it to me, it seems kind of lazy because it's just like they needed to keep Ethan off the map for however many episodes for Dracula to get a hold of Vanessa. Mm-hmm. That's all this has been. It's been wheel spinning.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You know? And so he had to really buy into the whole thing for it to make any sense that he wouldn't just be like, fuck this, I'm turning around and going back at a certain point.
I just like, all right, so hi everybody, I'm Natasha.
And I'm Maggie.
Dan will not be joining us this evening because he got bit by a dog. So weird dog ate my co-host excuse. But he took some Vicodin and was typing hilariously. And so yeah, he will not be joining us this evening, not even midway through gasping and out of breath. And this is also just for people who don't know, because I've had some weird reviews. This is the show where one person has seen it and one person doesn't know what the fuck is going on. And in our case, two people don't. Me and Dan are both unspoiled by now. And yeah, Maggie has seen everything, so she knows what's coming. So no spoilers, guys. Hence the name Unspoiled.
Yeah. Hence the whole conceit of the program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those reviews, guys. Just don't know what to do with those, but okay.
Yep. It's cool. But yeah, we're getting real close to the end now. And so I'm running out of things to hold over you guys.
All right. So starting off this episode, we pick up exactly where we left off with Ethan in the room with his father. And it is, I really wanted him to just be like, psych, love you, Dad. Mm-hmm. So sorry. We're going to be buddies now. But that is not how this went. He looks like he is about an inch away from ripping his face off before they get interrupted. And they only get interrupted to get arrested. Surprise. Which doesn't take, apparently. The
they
arrest
just sit down
kinda,
for dinner.
Yeah, I didn't understand the way this went. Like, is it just because they're in the middle of nowhere so they have to kind of like let him have the run of things? I guess.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he is sort of the law out where they are. I mean, he's not, but it's like the Bundy Rancher guys. Like, you can show up and be like, "Hey, guess what? I'm a U.S. Marshal. You got to do what I say," and they can be like, "Yeah, but we're us, and there are a lot of us, and we got a lot of guns. So maybe sit your ass down and have some dinner. Let's pretend to be polite,
right?
And then we'll talk about it in the morning." Like, yeah, that's all going to go real well. I'm sure that no bad things will happen at that dinner. It'll be delightful.
And he had a gun on him, which, like, how are you going to let that, even at the minimum, keep weapons away from this fucking guy? Like, I don't know what they were thinking with this. This was just really, really strange. And not strange in that I don't feel like it is a thing that could happen, because they handled things in a weird way when there wasn't really, like you were saying, like, just, kind of a no man's
structure
land
for law.
Yeah. Out there. But it was kind of confusing to me that we go from like the scene of, and you're under arrest, and then we jump to other scenes, and when we come back, they're just at dinner, and I'm like, wait, did I miss something? Like, the first time that I watched this, I really thought that I must have spaced out and missed a thing. And I was like, well, I know I'm going to rewatch it, so I guess I'll just see that there's a missing scene. And then when I rewatched, I'm like, oh, no, it just goes right there. Okay, I guess.
You're all arrested, but we've been traveling a while and we're hungry.
Super hungs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I came all the way from England. It's been a real rough trip,
Cup of tea wouldn't be amiss.
What do you guys eat out here? Do you have lamb? What do you got for me? And then I'm going to arrest all y'all. But in the meantime, feed me. Yeah. But I do love Rusk. I still really like Rusk I like that actor.
I'm real bummed that he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was sort of unavoidable.
It was, but same. I feel like there could have been more for him.
Yeah. He did a really good job with a pretty understated role. I think he played it really well.
Knows that there's some shit happening, and I want to know how the fuck he knows. Like, what is his background that he is like, yeah, he's a wolf and that's a witch, I'm pretty sure. Like, he just is, oh, so you're the one who called the snakes? Like, who just says that? Like, it's just a thing that he says it with complete confidence, and it's not a question. He knows the snakes were called, and that is not part of the question. It's just, were you the one who did it? Which, like, why does he know this, though? Is he a vampire? Is he is he alive, actually? Is he not dead? What if he's a vampire?
Everyone on the show is a vampire. That's the surprise twist.
I would love it if it turned out that Rusk was, like, had survived and lost his arm and everything because he was a vampire. That would be a good twist.
I like the idea that they all turn out to be vampires, like in that one. Oh, yeah, we never watched The Simpsons. There's an episode of The Simpsons, one of the Halloween specials, where they think that Burns is the head vampire, and if they kill Burns, then everybody will go back to not being vampire. But it turns out that Marge was the head vampire all along, and they're all vampires. Like, everybody's a vampire except for Lisa, who's like, what? We're all vampires. So I think that should be the ending of this one, is they shall be like, what? This whole time we've all been vampires. I don't know what you've been up to, Vanessa, but we've all been vampires. What were you doing? Victor's a vampire. Dorian's a vampire. Rudd's
oh my god, Dorian would make such an insufferable vampire.
Oh, he'd be just, ugh.
I would hate him.
Well, we can talk some more about Dorian later in this episode.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
So we go from that opening scene to them being arrested, to fucking Dracula with his minions gobbling down on some hanging dude. This is real, like, grotesque. It's gross anyway, but when the camera pulls away later and you just really see the body starkly alone hanging, that's a rough image.
I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Hannibal the last couple of days, so my bar for rough imagery is real high right now.
Yeah, I had some real trouble with, like you said, your tolerance goes up, but there were some episodes of that in the beginning, the one with the angels.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, that one fucked me. Like, I had nightmares. I had to pause the episode and take a break. Like, that one fucked me up bad.
Well, I just went past Mason Verger's storyline, and I knew that storyline because I've seen the movie Hannibal. I read the book Hannibal. Like, I knew what was going to happen. Still, just wasn't fun to watch.
No,
I'll just say, like, no, I don't like it.
Yeah, the guy who plays him is so good at being fucking creepy too.
I saw him on the subway in New York once.
What?
Yeah, Michael Pitt.
Was he adorable?
He looks exactly like Kurt Cobain, or at least he did at the time. This
Weird.
was, well, like that was what he was sort of known for. Was he got cast, his first major indie part was a role where he was supposed to be playing sort of a Kurt facsimile.
Okay.
A stand-in for Kurt in a fictionalized story, and so when I saw him on the train, I was like, "Oh, it's that kid who looks exactly like Kurt Cobain." And he kind of did the thing where he looked over at me like, "Yeah, you know who I am." And then I was like, "Ugh, no, boo.
Oh no,
you do not get to make that face at me yet, sir. No."
He was in Boardwalk Empire, but he was like, they have him with a like, I won't even say that he's fat. He's like got a little bit of a paunch in Hannibal and stuff. And I could tell I knew him from somewhere, but I fucking couldn't figure it out. And once I had it pointed out to me, I was like, oh my God. Because the difference between those characters, Boardwalk Empire, he plays a real, almost like an ingenue type that gets in over his head with the bad guys. And it's just like, he's got a real sweet face. And then here comes this fucking creepster who you definitely think is like raping women, and probably his sister is one of them. Anyway, Hannibal.
Well, he's in the movie he's probably best known for is a movie called Funny Games, which I
was he in
not
that?
seen. Yeah, he's in the American version of it. So there was like a Danish original version. I guess it was Danish.
Yeah,
and then,
there was Funny Games, and then for the U.S. it was.
I think it was called the same thing, wasn't it? And it was the exact same movie. Like they changed like nothing about it.
Oh, I thought it had a different name.
No,
The
it was
Strangers.
exactly the same.
I thought it was.
No. Nope. So they did an Austrian version in 1997, and then the American version was in 2007, and it was Naomi Watts and Tim Roth and Michael Pitt. And Michael Pitt looks real creepy in that from everything I've ever seen of it, and it's supposed to be very, very good. So,
okay. The Strangers was not a remake of it, but people are saying it's got almost the exact same plot.
I can see that.
But yeah, I never saw either of them because Funny Games sounded utterly disturbing.
Horrible.
And I was never ever going to be okay with it. So
yeah, but if that's the sort of, if we're talking about disturbing imagery and stuff that is just going to give you nightmares, might as well watch Funny Games. If we're talking about stuff. But then we can go back to talking about Penny Dreadful.
Yes, let's do that. So,
okay.
Dracula wants to know what Renly has figured out about Renfield. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I wish it was Renly. How awesome would that be?
Oh my God. He wants to know what Renfield has found out about Vanessa, and he tells him that, she knows your name, actually. He doesn't want to tell him that, but then he's like, yeah, she referenced you by name. She remembers that she met you. And he's like afraid of Dracula's reaction, but Dracula's basically like, all right, cool. This shit's almost done then. Nice. And then he's allowed to go and chew at the body, and all of the others have to back off for him, which, is a pretty great place to be. I would like for everybody to back away from the cake and allow me the exact slice that I would like at the exact moment that I want it. I'm okay with it.
It's not a cake.
It's a person cake. It's fine.
It's a person cake.
It's cake made of meat cake.
Well,
yeah, a couple of prominent cakes there. So here comes the worst news of the entire show. Mr. Lyle is leaving. I don't even want to say that sentence. I just had to force it out of my mouth because he's been the thing, the linchpin. And he's the one who dragged Vanessa up out of her fucking cave of horrors. And now he's just... And he wasn't even telling her. He's here packing. And he didn't even, send word to her about it. Which just seems rude. Right? Am I wrong in this? After what they went through together and knowing that all of her friends are gone? That he would just,
you're right.
leave?
No, you're totally right.
I was hoping that this wasn't really the thing. And it's they introduce another cool character, but it's just doesn't seem like we need to lose another awesome dude to get why do we have to lose one to get one? You know? And
we get a cool new character, but we get a cool new character for how many more episodes? 3 more episodes? Something like that? And so it's well, couldn't we just keep Mr. Lyle for those 3 episodes?
Yeah, I'm wondering if any listeners know of some inside info. Did he get an offer to do something else and had to bow out of the rest of the show?
Yeah.
Because it, you said, there's not that many episodes left, and it's not like he has been that prominent anyway. So I can't imagine that it was such a commitment.
Right.
But
although let's point out that the person that he recommends Vanessa follow up with has a slightly different skill set than he does as far as what might come in handy in the episodes to follow.
That's true.
So, he's not exactly a fencer.
That's true. But he's a verbal fencer.
He is. But it's coming towards the end of the show. You feel like you might need someone a little bit more spry on the field than Mr. Lyle. And I think a lot of people, when he said that he was going to Cairo, nobody knew that this was the last season. Nobody knew this was the last season until the day after, I think, the finale aired. And they were like, no, that was the series finale. And people went nuts. And I wasn't watching at the time. I watched it all a couple months later, but this is just reading the reaction. People went nuts, and a lot of people had thought that sending off Mr. Lyle off was clearly a setup for a mummy plotline, because they sent him off to Egypt. And which classic movie monster have we not gotten yet? We haven't gotten a mummy, and he's going off to Egypt, and we've got Egyptian gods in the mix here. We've got Amunet, how about this? Let's see where this could go. And instead they're like, no, we're done.
I get what they're saying with that, why people would think that, but that never even entered my head. Yeah. It's so close to the end. And
but
Mr.
that's because
Lyle,
it's close to the end.
I guess, yeah.
Close to the end. And they were like, wait, they're sending one of our favorite characters off somewhere else. Where could they be sending him? Oh, they're sending him to Egypt. We've been doing a lot of stuff with Egypt. Is that what the next season's going to all be in Egypt? And then
I just but he's not going with anybody. No. So, he's not enough of a character for them to set up a whole nother thing with just him. He would have been accompanied by somebody if they were going to do that. So, yeah,
Fair
that
point.
Just never even occurred to me. But that would have been kind of fun, though. Have you seen the previews for The Mummy coming out again? What is this?
Ugh. I ignore it. I don't like Tom Cruise. Mm-mm. I do not go see Tom Cruise movies. I have seen, I like him in stuff in the things I've seen him in that are good movies, but he himself does nothing for me, and I find him really repulsive as a human.
Same.
Or, a Thetan in a human suit or whatever he is. He's just so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, if I see Tom Cruise is in a movie, I'm already pretty much out.
Mm-hmm.
And unless there's something else about the movie that makes me go, fine. But
apparently
this is not one of those.
The mummy's name is Amunet in the movie.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But yeah, it was like making me crazy. There was some ad that I saw, and it was, that's what it was. I think it was a spread in Vogue where they were like having different actors that were going to be in the upcoming Mummy and another movie franchise. And it was like her playing the mummy. And then it was like 6 dudes. And all of the dudes were at least 20 years older than her. And she was credited as Mummy. Not even Amunet. Mummy. And that was it. And then there's all these guys. And I was just like, this is exactly what we're talking about, guys. So, Victor, fuck you. Victor is getting his vial because he's going to like abduct Lily and take her back here, and that goes about as well as one would expect, considering that he's
what was
Victor.
his plan? What is his plan even?
He has no plan.
No, I'm just gonna go in there, and the woman with the the superhuman strength and the guy who can't die. I'm gonna walk in their house, and I'm just gonna go right up and stick this in her eyeball, and then she'll go back to loving me. She never loved you in the first place, Victor. Why are you not listening to what she's saying?
It's really something that he shot them both and watched how that did nothing. And yet he's still willing to go right the fuck back there and act like I didn't just witness for myself that they are basically invincible. What in the world possessed this guy? Yeah, I don't get it. But while we're there, let's talk about what's going on with the Women's Liberation Front, as I'm going to call it in my head here. They are recruiting ladies with the help of Justine, and Justine is getting a little bit scary.
A little bit.
Okay. I kind of love it. I have to be a little honest, because I wasn't sure that she was going to be on board with this at all from the beginning. So now that she has gotten so on board that she's like, and the fact that because it's not really addressing it, not really, but it is a little bit. Last episode, we were kind of laughing about how Lily tells her that, Dorian is an exception because he doesn't just want to fuck or beat you, but then he does want to fuck her right away.
Yeah.
And she basically calls him out on that in this little exercise that they're doing. And it's just like, so. And, it seemed like she was into it at the time, but that retroactively she's looking back on it and she's like, yeah, I'm not so sure how I feel about it now.
Right.
Which I could see that, like doing something and in the heat of the moment and then looking back and just being like, you pretty much took advantage of me, actually. Which I'm not sure if she really feels that way or if it's just it giving her an idea of who he is and other things that he has done. Right. So I'm not sure how personal it is for her.
That she doesn't necessarily personally feel like he was taking advantage of her, but to be like, wait a second, we're really going to make believe like he isn't exactly the same as the rest of these guys just because he's helping us out right now in this big house that he's putting us all up in? Like,
right.
I don't know, questionable. Yeah. And it's just funny to see also him being called out on the like, hey, so how many hookers did you totally debase and then photograph so you could jerk off to later? And I'm like, her, he did that to her, like that one right there, Lily, right there. He did that literally to her. That's how we met him.
I was cracking up because Lily has her eyebrows up and it's just like, oh shit, like she's, not really approving of her behavior, but
pictures?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that moment a lot. And she's pressing the tip of this dagger against his throat. And he's saying, you're pushing your luck, dear. And it's really interesting. Brona is watching her and she's like, do you want to see his blood spill out? And I'm saying Brona and Lily. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. Lily says, well, then who would the other girls practice on? And she says it in this way, like she's trying to be a good sport, but she has an expression on her face like, I don't really like this and everything that it implies. Mm-hmm. But she also isn't willing to talk shit about her when Dorian tries to make that happen later. Right. Dorian is such a male feminist where he wants to be part of it, but he wants it to be about him. Mm-hmm. And instant moment of she doesn't know her place, going right back into the thought patterns and the pain that Brona has on her face when he says this, because I think Brona realizes Justine's point, and she likes Dorian, and she doesn't want to have to deal with this.
Right, the reality of the situation. It's a hard realization to come to about somebody that you care about. Yep. You're like, oh, they may not get this as much as I thought. They maybe got this, and this is important to me. Shit. And also, she's sort of going back and forth between, but see, I like Dorian, and Justine's creeping me out.
Right.
But she's kind of right. But I also don't like what's going on with the dynamics in this situation right now. So there's a lot percolating in Lily's brain right now, I think. Things have gotten really complicated really fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
because they maybe picked somebody with a little bit too much zest for this project to be their first protege, because Justine's real into the whole thing. She really is just, she's a little spitfire.
As they're talking about it later, Lily says, like, I just see myself in her. She has so much of my anger. And I really think it's, she's younger than the others too. And I don't know if it's just because it maybe started younger with her, but probably not. I'm guessing they all started around the same, like close to the same time. But that she's still so young, that there is that impulsiveness and that feeling of like invincibility, even though she doesn't actually have that. And I just, when he's saying, because he says, I think she's forgotten her place, and she says, Justine thinks the same about you. And he looks horrified and is like, my place is by your side. We are equals. And I'm like, have you been listening? Maybe Lily hasn't said this in front of him, because she says that their goal is mastery. What is the word that she uses? And she says this to Justine when they're out at lunch watching the suffragettes. He wasn't around for that. So maybe he isn't aware
that they're aiming for total male submission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. She hasn't been totally forthright with Dorian, although that seems out of character. Maybe Dorian just isn't listening.
Yeah, that could be it.
I think maybe that could be it. That Dorian's like, yeah, that whole thing, women's lib, I got it.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm totally down with that. That's totally hot.
Right, yeah.
But like when it comes to like the actual nitty gritty of what's going on, he's sort of not paying super close attention.
And it's just like he's not just self-absorbed and shallow. He sees like everything as kind of a game, because he is immortal. So it is kind of a game for him. Like there's no stakes to anything for him, because he's just going to live right through it, whatever happens. So.
Well, and you see it with what happened with Angelique, where like one episode, it was like this deep abiding thing. And then like 5 seconds later, he's like, yeah, that was cool. And it's almost like this is the same sort of thing. Like it's another project for him, and he's going to like throw himself into with gusto, and then be like, yeah, okay, that was fun. Now, but we're done with that. I got other stuff to do, which is why his interactions with Vanessa in the first season were so interesting, because she was the first person it seems like ever dumped him first.
Right.
Like, this is the first time that's literally ever happened to him in however many hundreds of years. He's like, wait, I'm supposed to get bored of you and go do other shit. And she's like, nah, bye. He was so confused.
Yeah, that's like exactly the thing, is that this is a project for him. And he's doing it because it's novel. Has he ever been part of a all-women militia that's aiming to take over the world before? Guess not. Yeah. Not many of us have, unfortunately.
He's always looking for something new and different. Like, that's the thing, is there are certain people where that's their thing. They just want to experience everything under the sun. Like, I know actual people like that. And Dorian's that taken to like a million levels higher because he's immortal. So he can literally just be like, I'm going to see everything. I'm going to be here forever. So I'm going to see everything I possibly can. And that is everything. So when something really new like this pops up. So, you know, before it was like, oh, I've never been with a trans woman before. Awesome. This is my cool new thing. And now it's like, oh yeah, all woman militia. Totally my thing.
Right.
Until it's not going to be my thing anymore because it becomes really inconvenient, which this seems like it's marching towards being inconvenient awfully quickly. And they might be kind of harder to take out than poor Angelique.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is that he's picking the wrong thing to get bored with. Because that is the ideal moment for them to get rid of you, once you have proven that you're not part of this the way that you promised you would be. I mean, the only downside to that is that he's the one with all the resources. Yeah. So Lily needs to get married to him and get his will changed and then kill him, is what needs to happen, so that she can take his shit and his house, which would be great. Lily Gray. It's a pretty good name. If she wouldn't take his last name, but I don't know what her last name is now. If she even like,
well, she was Lily Frankenstein. Ugh. Wonder if it's still Lily Frankenstein.
That's also from a dude. She can't take that.
She doesn't. I mean, everybody's name is from a dude.
But that's my point. Yeah, you just make up a new one, right? Like, yeah, maybe she could be Lily Brona. She could like have it as her last name. Or
she should be like Lily, like Cher. That's it. Just Lily.
So yeah, this whole thing, it's just, you know, there are definitely better male feminists out there who do understand when it's time for them to shut the fuck up. They exist.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know plenty of them.
Yeah.
But they tend to be.
They want cookies. Constant
a lot
cookies.
Of them want cookies.
And, you know, it's just, we've got more important shit to deal with than you feeling like you need to be reassured at all times that you're not one of the bad guys. I don't give a shit if you're not one of the bad guys. Just keep not being one of the bad guys. I'm not either. And I'm not constantly like, guys, just so you remember.
Well, it's the same thing as, like, you know, I read a lot of blogs and Facebook pages and stuff by women of color. And I don't constantly feel the need to stick my head into the comments and be like, I'm one of the good white people.
Right.
You know, like, you read,
I'm white, but I don't do that.
Yeah. Like, no, if it's not about you, then let it not be about you and learn what you can and just, you know, sit back. Like, and stand up to people who, like, other people who are white who are being assholes. Then you can step in and be like, I'm sorry. I've come for them. Like, we're going to usher them off stage because they're full of shit. Yep. But otherwise, it's this, and you see it on all sorts of different levels. Like, I'm on a lot of parenting blogs and on autism specific blogs. And there's a lot of controversy that tends to be between parents and actual autistic adults about a particular kind of therapy that's really common, and it's called ABA, and it's been around for a zillion years, and it's the one thing that is covered by all the insurances everywhere, and they say this is the one thing that's been proven to work to help improve outcomes in autistic children. In its original form, it was pretty abusive, and so a lot of adult autistics who are activists now are like, ABA is awful and abusive, and it traumatized us as children. It's basically like training us like dogs. you should not train your children like dogs. They're human beings. And the complicated part of that is that ABA, given that ABA is now the only thing that's covered by insurance, a lot of other types of therapy throw in little bits and pieces of ABA into their structure so that they can call themselves ABA and get covered by insurance.
Gotcha.
So, like, my kids did some ABA therapy, but it was nothing like, ABA therapy the way it was practiced in the 80s. But I don't feel the need, like so many other parents, like anytime there's a thread in one of these blogs, they just pop in. They're like, well, we didn't do that to our kids and our ABA. And I'm like, then if it's not about you, then it's not about you. Then they're not talking about you.
Yep.
Then, feel confident in the choices you've made as a parent to be like, I did not do that to my kid. This story isn't about me. And learn from what these people are saying so you can have some, be self-reflective about it and be like, is this about me? And if it is, take that, learn from it. Don't just be fucking defensive all the time. It's ugly and it happens all the time. And it's just awful to watch. And it's one of those reasons why, like, I have a lot of now good, solid mom friends from autism groups, but you gotta be real careful who you pick out of the lineup because a lot of them are not great.
It just reminds me if there's this amazing meme that I've been like using so much. And it's a dude going, hey ladies, if you're not talking about the men, then what about men? And if you are talking about the men, remember, not all men.
Oh God.
And I mean, it just sums everything up so well. So well. It's Dorian. It's just like, hey, I'm not one of those guys. I'm on your side. But also, this has to be 50% about me at least, right?
Right.
Always.
I just kind of always think of Dorian as that, whatever that one Burb meme is, where he's saying, I am uncomfortable when we are not all about me.
When we are not about me. Yep.
That's Dorian right there. What? It not all about me? What? Yeah. Oh, Dorian.
So we'll just finish up with this. Victor winds up getting, I hesitate to even use the word captured because that implies a lot more like effort
Stealth
on their part than was actually required.
He like walk into the building and they're like, yeah, we got you. And he's like, oh no.
Yep.
That's about it. Like that wasn't anything else.
And fucking Justine is just like, let me kill him. Come on, let me kill him. And Lily,
Dorian of all people, Dorian is like, no, are you like, look at how pathetic he is. What purpose does it serve to kill him? Justine's like, because we want to kill them all.
Because he's a man.
Yeah. And Dorian's like, are you really going to let this happen? Like, to see Dorian, standing up for Victor is just weird to watch. It makes sense. I think at least partially in light of Dorian's earlier interactions with Justine in this episode. He's like, she is getting out of hand right now. What, you were going to kill Victor Frankenstein? That schmuck? What? Why? What purpose does that serve? And I'm sort of like, well, it serves a purpose given that he's the one who did this to Lily.
Right.
In the first place. So if we are going to kill anyone, maybe Victor should be on the list, even if he does seem like a perfectly harmless schmuck. Because
like I was really mystified, honestly, when he's like, well, what purpose would that serve? I'm like, you literally were just standing in this same room, shot in the chest, not that long ago, deciding whether or not to kill him and saying that it was totally up to Lily. And you were fine with it if she decided that she did want to kill him. You were just totally like, yeah, I could go either way, whatever. And here he shows up with the intent to kidnap her. And now you know that he's not going to succeed, but that's not the point. He knows your secret, that you're immortal. He came to take her, and he hasn't given up despite knowing that you can't be killed. This is a guy that needs to go. If I were in their shoes, I would absolutely have killed him.
I can't believe they haven't killed. Like, she's given him so many chances.
The fact that she let him go. I mean, what?
Once again, she was like, and the fact that, he was like, but we were happy. And she's like, no, you were happy. And I'm like, you're spending too much time talking to him. He is a mess. He's not going to stop. Like, he is not listening to what you are saying to him.
Nope.
It is not going through that thick ass heroin-addled skull of his.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
No. He does not. So you know, as crazy as Justine is, and you know, she's real eager and it's creepy, but like, and I like Victor a lot of the time in a weird way, but not this season. I like Victor when he's in the context of all the other characters. And now that he's been off by himself, I'm like, oh, right, he's the worst.
Oh, my God.
Because you're not getting to see any of the redeemable factors of him, which there are a few here and there.
Yep.
Mostly when he's calling people out on their bullshit. But right now, he doesn't have anybody to call out on their bullshit, and nobody's around calling him out on his bullshit. So he's just like, wah, all the time, and it's awful. And I'm like, he's going to kidnap you and essentially like trying to brain rape you. Like he's giving you a weirdo perma date rape drug. That's awful.
Just don't understand how she's still trying to explain some shit that she has told him already. If he hasn't gotten it yet, you sitting here and telling him again is not going to do it. The fact that he hasn't given up obviously means it hasn't sunk in, and he has developed a drug specifically to brainwash you. Mm-hmm. So this is a guy who is spending all of his spare time solely dedicated to turning you into a pet. Mm-hmm. And you're just going to let him, like...
You're going to be like, oh, I'm sentimental about him. And I'm
right. Like... If you're sentimental about him, fine. Put a fucking collar on him and keep him in the basement. Don't fucking let him out the door to go wreak havoc doing God knows what. And who else can he use this drug on? Some other poor girl that like is nice to him once, and then he takes that. This is roofies. It's it's
roofies.
I just can't. I'm really mad that they don't kill him.
Don't you like how we tend to always reach a point in one of our podcasts where we're like, I don't understand why they haven't killed that guy. Mm-hmm. We're always like, yeah, no, they should have killed Leo. I don't know why. Right? Like, why they're keeping him? We're like, why? Come on. Now we've got another one. Why have they not killed Victor yet? What? Why? Why? Like, just be realistic. Like, I understand for the purposes of the show why they're not doing it, but if this was realistic in any way, shape, or form, and these are people who are like making a plan to go kill men, and they have a man who is objectively a horrible person sitting in front of them, and who is here to do horrible things specifically to one person in this room.
And the leader, the creator of this movement, he's going to harm. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know how he gets out of there. And Dorian even is like, now basically like, now you owe me a boon, or like whatever shit he says. And I'm like, really?
Like, again, all about me every time. Mm-hmm. My God, dude. You didn't spare his life. Lily spared his life. It was up to her if he's alive or not. And she decided that I think Lily might have killed him if it hadn't been for Justine. Mm-hmm. I think she just doesn't want to indulge this girl's bloodlust too much. She's like, you know what, lady, maybe you just need to get a little bit of therapy. Yeah. Go see Vanessa's doctor.
She's real good. I feel like you're just seeing a lot of change in the power dynamic in this group happening right here, because all of a sudden you've got Dorian feeling on the outs from these women, and now Victor owes him something. And I'm like, that's not great. And then at the same time, Lily's trying to be in this power position, but she keeps being forced into this position where Justine's making her look kind of bad.
Yeah.
Kind of weak. And that's not good. Like, things aren't looking great for Lily right here. And I'm like, Lily, pull it together.
Yeah, Lily needs to have a sit down with Justine. Like,
Lily needs to get rid of Justine. Honestly,
I feel like Justine could be like. I feel like she'd be a great attack dog. What?
Yeah, I just feel like Justine may be a little too broken. I don't know,
maybe.
Like, she was right about to get, like, mauled and murdered for sexual pleasure in front of a whole bunch of men. This is a woman or a girl who has been broken down to her absolute lowest and now has been given this feeling of absolute power. And that never goes well.
Yeah.
So she's trouble. And
But
I feel like Lily should have seen that coming.
It kind of would have been great, though. Like, she can still utilize her. Yeah. Just send her out to, like, hang out in the red light district and just wait for creepy dudes and have that be, like, her job. Is just killing dudes if these women can't do it themselves, if they're not trained yet. Then she gets all of her aggression out, and she comes back, sated for the night, and then goes back out and does it again.
Right. Don't have her in there as your sort of, like,
lieutenant,
vice president, yeah, when she's clearly spoiling for more power, and is doing a pretty good job of, like, making it seem like, well, if you want a more radical version of what Lily's trying to make seem radical, I'm really who you want to be looking at, because, like, she's just letting all these guys walk all over her, and I'm like, Lily, you kind of are letting all these guys walk all over you.
Yeah, Lily needs to have more of a manifesto and, like, ground rules. Because
that's true.
Basically, she's just decided, well, let's just get some chicks in here. And she hasn't really, like, established any sort of, like, decorum or, people need guidelines. It's what makes us flourish, is having boundaries. And she hasn't established any, really. And Justine, being the very first one, is naturally going to feel like she's above whatever everyone else is held to. So you're going to have to specifically talk to her about that and be like, yeah, no, you are going to be held to the same ship, BT dubs.
Yeah, because right now she's just an agent of chaos. And that's trouble. This whole episode made me be like, Lily, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because I'm rooting for you. I really am.
Same.
I mean, not necessarily in, like, actually murder. Like, if it was real life, I don't think we should murder all the guys. Like, I'm not
all
down
of
with
them.
that.
Just, like, maybe like 70%.
But in the context of this show, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel you on a lot of this. So, go forth. I believe in you.
Okay, so let's take a short break for a message from yours truly, and then we will get back to the show. I just want to give you all a really quick taste of what you get for $1 a month. Strap in, guys. It's an exciting ride. This is Unspoiled, patrons only, covering Sharknado, Jessica Jones, The Room, Luke Cage,
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand.
Firefly, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Black Mirror, The Cabin in the Woods, Sherlock, pretty sure you all know that one. I just gave you 10 reasons. 10 reasons! And that's not even all of them. We covered Ghostbusters. We covered the Avengers. We covered Civil War. We're going to be covering all kinds of stuff in the future for Harry Potter, special episodes on the movies, and on Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and on some of the side story books, and on Cursed Child. There is going to be so much stuff coming up, and it's $1. You guys, for realsies, you should do it. Become a patron. Patreon.com/unspoiled. Okay, and we're back. So let's go to talk about John Clare, who has the saddest scene ever, and just get it over with.
I don't even want to talk about it. It's so sad, and It's funny how we've come very far with this character, all of a sudden feeling a lot of pity for him, whereas we used to just be like, boo, every time he showed up.
Get over yourself.
Because this is real. This is so sad. This is so sad. As a parent, it's just made me go, oh, no.
I just never thought he would actually come out of the shadows. And part of me hoped that this boy would see him and not really be well enough to actually see him properly.
Right.
But initially he does think that it's like an angel, his father's, spirit coming to bear him off.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kills me a little bit. Like, it just occurred to me that what if Vanessa killed John Clare? 'Cause he was dead.
Mm-hmm. He was dead.
Why didn't I think of this? 'Cause we never find out how he died.
We do not know how he died, because it does not seem like he died of tuberculosis.
No, and he's got this fucking giant crack down the side of his head, which doesn't look like it was from Victor. Like, it's not neatly sewn up. It's this jagged... Oh, brother. What did she do? Anyway, sorry, I got totally distracted all of a sudden with this, like, oh, we don't see what happens. She just, like, has her head shaved and is going to go get her brain drilled. And that's, like, the last we see of that memory. And then she comes out of the hypnosis. And I'm like, maybe you don't know everything, Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this little boy thinks that his father has come to take him away because he's been told that the angels are coming for him soon. And he says, I had hoped that it would be you. And I'm just like, oh, this is so rude.
Show.
John,
Not
like,
acceptable.
holds him and shushes him and everything because the little boy is coughing and, like, crying a little bit.
And he says he's going to go get him medicine.
Yeah, whatever you need. And as it seems, he says, this pain is fleeting. I promise you that. And that was the one moment where I was just like, yeah, that's really one of the only good things to say, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this will be over soon.
He'll die soon.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
And he kisses the top of his head and is just holding him, like, And then the little boy backs up and opens his eyes and flips out and starts screaming.
Yeah.
And he jumps up and runs away. He tries to say, like, please, like, just give me this. But the boy is still screaming. And he goes out into the alley and almost, like, vomits with pain. This moment of him, like, collapsing, I was just like, oh, God. Do you remember that part in Brokeback Mountain where Heath Ledger's character acts really nonchalant when they're saying goodbye for the first time? Yeah. And then he walks around the corner and he punches the wall and, like, sinks down and starts sobbing.
Oh, my God. That movie.
I know.
Heath Ledger in that movie, I cannot even. It's just insane. It's,
He reminded me a lot of my dad. My father was just, he'd be stone-faced. Like, there was nothing. And then he would fucking explode. And he would do it somewhere that you weren't even sure that it was happening. That kind of thing, going off and punching something and, like, coming back. But his face would be unchanged. And you were like, did he just freak out? Or am I imagining? Yeah. This just really reminded me of that moment. And it's the only scene of his through the whole episode.
Yeah. And I understand the boy's reaction because he's been told, the angels will be coming for you soon. And it's his father. And he's like, oh, are you an angel? And he opens his eyes. It's like, no, it's a fucking devil. It's a devil version of my father who's come to drag me down to hell.
Right.
And clearly, John Clare is thinking to himself, yep, that's all I'm ever going to be. That's it. So yeah, after all his shittiness in the first, season to 2 seasons of this show, I'm finally starting to be like, oof. Once his humanity starts coming back to him, I start really feeling for him. And this scene in particular is just, oof.
Yeah, before he was having all of this self-pity because he just was lonely and felt like he was entitled to have a woman. Mm-hmm. And that's a totally different situation. Here, it is his actual family that he has a very real emotional connection with. They don't realize he's out there walking around still. And there is no fucking way that you don't go see them. There's no fucking way. I don't care what you look like and how you know that they're going to react. Maybe you don't actually like out yourself to them.
Right.
Really, but like you have to go see, right? Mm-hmm. There's no way I couldn't. Yeah. Oh man, I feel bad for him.
Like whether or not I would actually go up to them is a different story. And I think that would probably, depend on the situation for sure. But clearly you're going to go
right
and find them. If you've remembered, you're going to go back and try and find them. And, you notice we've not heard any of his I'm entitled to a woman bullshit in a long time. It's been quite a few episodes now.
Yes.
And it just seems like once his memories really started coming back to him, he lost that whole perspective between Lily, reading him the riot act and kind of showing him you're a turd.
Right.
And, that shit with the waxworks people. He really has changed his direction in a lot of ways. And to see him getting kicked again like this is pretty brutal. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I want him and Vanessa to have a sit-down chat soon. I'm suddenly feeling like we need a scene between the two of them again, because it's been a while.
It's killing me that all we know is that they used to know each other, but we don't see anything, now-ish about that.
And whether or not she would recognize him now that she's been through that hypnosis.
That's what I'm like, because she comes out of that and she's like, oh, I remember everything, but she's remembering Dracula and the devil. She doesn't say anything about like, oh, that guy. Oh my God, that guy. Right. So, yeah.
Because you wouldn't necessarily put the faces together, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see not realizing that the scarred, stark white monster-looking dude is your, happy-faced attendant. I could definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm. That guy you made out with that time in the rubber room.
Right?
You've changed quite a bit.
All right.
Did being possessed by the devil do this to you? Is that why you look like this now? Ooh, it's terrible for your complexion.
Yeah, you'd think that they'd have a tan from all that fire. Brimstone. Well. So next scene, Vanessa goes to a fencing match. Mm-hmm. And there is a slightly slighter person who is very much holding their own, but then like elbows their opponent in the face and wins that way. And it's pretty great, but not like, typically again, like it's not, he says
it's not against the ruls, but it's not polite, basically.
That's what I'm like really curious about that. Like, how can elbowing somebody in the face not explicitly be against the rules? I feel like that should be against it. Like, think about other sports and the ridiculous shit that isn't allowed. Like, you can't take more than two steps with a basketball without
traveling. Yeah.
You can't. There's elbows. Like, they just say elbows. Like, just if you have them up.
There's just elbows.
Yeah.
Like your hands can't have any sort of curvature over a person's head at all. When you're like your hands have to be straight up in the air. Like, it's pretty nitpicky.
Yep. Yeah, I just don't see how something that seems as technical as fencing wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, no, you're out of here, bye. But this guy
happens so rarely because it's such ungentlemanlike behavior. Mm-hmm. She's like, but I am no gentleman, and rips off her mask.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I kind of enjoyed that he's like already pissy before she takes her. It's not just like, oh, I didn't want to lose to a woman. Mm-hmm. It is, what the fuck? And then, oh, and you're a woman. Which I'm kind of like, hey, lady, maybe don't. Because I feel like she was just saying like, well, I didn't get on the roster, but not for lack of trying. And I'm like, you're not exactly making a great case for yourself. Mm-hmm. But also, maybe if you've just been trying to make a case forever and you realize it's never going to work, maybe you just are like, oh, fuck it. I'm going to elbow this guy in the fucking face. And when Vanessa comes in to talk to her, she's dressed in, like, men's clothing. She is not wearing a dress. She is wearing pants, close-fitting pants, I may add, and a vest, and, like, knee-high boots. It's a pretty sick outfit, to be totally honest. I'm not entirely sure that this is period appropriate, that this was like allowed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, it kind of reminds me, there is a character in Vikings that shows up in one of the later seasons that, while kind of fun and an interesting, like, wrench to throw in the works, feels like she should be singing lead in like a Brooklyn hipster band and does not feel like she's a Viking. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, and I kind of feel that way about this lady. Like, her hair is in this very stylish bob that's like razor cut. It's a fucking like New York style. Yeah. And so it's cool to have another badass female character and somebody who very specifically understands and believes in the crazy shit Vanessa is about to say. Yeah. Appreciate
She's a
that.
Thanatologist. She studies death. That's her job.
Which is pretty great. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know about the whole look of her. It takes me out of it. Like, her look is great, but it just feels like she's got a look that would fit more in like a steampunk version of this show.
Right.
You know, like if we were having like a Hansel and Gretel version with Jeremy Renner and what's her face?
I don't know who was against Jeremy Renner in that movie. I did not see it. But
I saw it twice.
Good Lord. Woman.
I know. It's so bad. I went to see it in theaters with my friend and I was drunk and we were the only two people in the whole theater and it was the best night ever. Highly recommend getting drunk in a theater alone. Thumbs up.
That does sound fun. Well, I do have some thoughts on your thoughts that you're currently expressing about this character, but I don't want to talk about them until we're a couple episodes further on.
Okay. So yeah, she's like, I'm looking for Dracula. She's like, well, you know, there's some history books. And she's like, no, I'm looking for Dracula.
Like here.
Somewhere on this block, probably?
Yeah, like probably within like a 6-block radius. Pretty sure he's like right here. And he might be in this room.
I just like, she's just like, ooh, well, you're going to want to be careful. And you don't know me, but me saying that you should be careful is a pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I don't do careful. So is that the last that we see of her this episode? And then we go to Vanessa visiting Dr. Dracula.
Sweet.
Dr. Sweet, you monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh wait, no, I lied. We go to Vanessa having drinks with her doctor, who tells her about how she killed her husband with a fucking hatchet.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fantastic. Then came the night he would have killed me, but you killed him first. Mm-hmm. With a cleaver from the kitchen. And she smiles with this fucking... Oh, what a night. Like... I just love the expression. Mm-hmm. And she says it's not until you kill your husband with a cleaver and then stand trial for it in New York City that you truly know what it means to be alone. And basically tells Vanessa, you need to go out and like meet people that are not your doctor, because this isn't this is still you isolating. Like, you're pretending that you're doing stuff, but you're not really taking any risks. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed this conversation because it feels like something that I would totally do. Like, I would be like, oh, yeah, no, this is good enough, doctor. Let's go have a drink. That's fine. Right? And just kind of do this half measure that doesn't really count. But I'm like, no, it's progress. I promise. And she's completely calling Vanessa out. Just like, girl, I know what you're doing. And it does not count. Mm-hmm. So let's just jump ahead here. Vanessa fucks Dr. Sweets.
Yeah.
I am not here for this.
No. Yeah.
I feel like
I have a couple things to say about this. First of all, I would like to point out that this is the first time we see Vanessa have sex where she does not go all Aminette.
This is exactly what I was going to ask. How? How, though?
Yeah. Maybe because it's Dracula? I don't know.
That's all I can think. But, like, I expected her to notice.
Right. Like, this is weird that this is, like, as far as we know, the first time ever that she has had sex without going nuts. And so the fact that she's so, like, chill about doing it in the first place seems super out of character anyway.
Yeah.
Because every other time, like, I don't care, like, yeah, you're disappointed that Ethan, like, bailed on you, sure. But you also, like, you've run away from sex with all sorts of people that you care about way more than this dude. But you're gonna be like, yeah, fuck it. But you're not even, like, in a self-destructive mode. Like, you're in I'm trying to take back some power for myself and do something for myself, and so I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, but no, that's not how this works for you, unfortunately, honey.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is apparently they have sex for about 30 seconds and they both come, and that's supposed to be, like, this amazing, awesome sexual experience for both. Am I crazy? Am I sort of like, you just fucked him with his pants still on for, like, 5 thrusts?
I cannot, because that's something that happens so frequently on TV and in movies where people are like, it feels like you barely could have gotten started.
Yeah. I mean, like, maybe if they were going real hard at it, maybe he could, but, like, no.
Maybe it's supposed to be magical, like his magical Dracula penis is super excellent.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, just no. Just no, like, and I just no. I think this is setting a very bad precedent. I don't want anybody to watch this show and think that it's physiologically possible for a woman to come from PIV sex in less than 30 seconds, which is what happens here.
Yeah.
That does not happen. It does not happen. I don't think it's physiologically possible.
Oh my God.
I don't. Like, they didn't do foreplay. Like, there was not, like, they kissed for like 2 seconds. She licked his neck, and then she hopped on top of him, and they went, like, you know, bone, 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 done. Like, seriously, I'm like, what? I was watching this scene just literally, because, like, at least in the sex scene with Dorian, like, they were showing, like, it was lots of cuts away, so it had obviously been going on for a while before she went nuts and had to leave. But this is a straight shot. Like, there's no cut away. This is just, that was it. That was their giant, you know, love match.
Love match.
Well, because that's what she's like, they're talking. He says something. They're using the word love, and I'm like, you guys, what are you even doing?
Yeah, he says, I love you for who you are, not who for society wants you to be.
Are you like 3 episodes ago, you couldn't remember her name?
Yeah, I was like, why aren't alarm bells going off in her head about the fact that he's saying this shit? Like, just the whole scene doesn't make any sense to me, character-wise or continuity-wise or anything-wise.
Or sex-wise.
Sex-wise, yes. Although the sex-wise thing, I'm more willing to forgive because television is terrible at depicting sex in general, with women especially.
They are, but in this show, they've been better about it. And so this bums me out, man.
Yeah.
Like, the sex scenes in this show have been, like, they're actually... like sex scenes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they come in partway through. So, but this is literally just like, it takes like 30 seconds and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a sex scene. Like that, there was that great sex scene with Brona and Ethan in the first season.
Good one.
That was a good one. And they'd obviously been doing stuff for a while
Yep.
before we actually come in and then see it for a little bit. And then the Dorian sex scene, there's like lots of cuts away. So it's, you know, and then there's that whole like sex montage thing with Malcolm and, you know, Witch Lady.
Oh, yeah.
Evelyn. And we're basically everybody's boning at the same time. And... that one, the Victor one seemed realistic in how short it was. That. But the rest of them, like, you know, Malcolm and Evelyn were doing it in different positions, and like that stuff was going on for a while, and there were like lots of different cuts, and I'm like, yeah, this is a show that has made it like, yeah, sex is an active enterprise, not just like, we're going to lie on the floor and do this for a couple seconds and be awesome and life-changing. And I'm like, nah. Just, no. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be ranting about this so much because it's getting kind of ridiculous. But seriously, that sex scene was ludicrous. And partially because I don't like him as an actor, as a character. I don't buy any of this. I don't buy why she's falling for him. Other than
I'm real mystified at the casting of him as Dracula. Like,
no, I don't like it.
I just don't like. I was really hoping that once we really saw him in more than one scene, I would start to feel it more, and instead, I feel it less. Like, you know, first of all, he has his second in command just fucking flout his, you know, authority immediately. Yeah,
talk about flouting authority, Justine and Lily wise. Like, that other guy was ridiculous. He licked his girlfriend.
Right?
Licked Dracula's girlfriend.
Like, what are you thinking? So, and then like the scenes with Renfield, like there's the one scene where he like looks up into the camera and you're like, oh no, it's Dr. Sweet. And then they pretty much just have him act like a regular dude.
Like a dude talking to a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really understand, like, if they're going to have it be that she's being kind of enchanted by him, literally, then have that be what it is. Have it be obvious that that's what's happening. But yeah, I'm not getting the vibe that that's what's going on here. And as far as I can see, there is nothing that makes me want to fuck a guy less than him not remembering my name multiple times. Thanks, but I'm good. So, anyway, let's move on to Ethan's father.
Okay.
This scene, like, okay, just straight up, this episode just overall is kind of a mess. This scene is really a mess. Basically what happens here is that the writers are like, we're done with a lot of these people. So let's just kind of clean house and get this rolling. And it's inexplicable to me. It's inexplicable. He's got a fucking gun, supposedly under arrest, sitting at the head of the table like he's just the guy, with a fucking gun. The U.S. Marshal is glaring at him, and he finally is just like, what's your fucking problem? And he's like, you, like, killed all my guys, maybe? Could be it? And
so there's going to be a reckoning, and Brian Cox is like, oh, is there? Shoot you.
Just fucking shoot him in the head right there, and everybody's just like, welp. And Ethan just keeps eating dinner, because that's
Rust's
what you do.
like, I didn't like that guy anyway.
And he fucking makes Ethan say grace, and Ethan's like,
oh, that grace.
Oh, is that the worst thing you've ever heard?
It was so bad.
That was the kind of shit that some 15-year-old fucking edgelord would write on Reddit. Like, what are you even doing?
That's exactly the right description of whoever scripted that bullshit.
Oh, it's so uncreative. Like,
yeah.
And just and not only that, but like when somebody asks you to say grace, do you say the Lord's Prayer? No. Nobody says that when they say grace. They say, God bless these gifts we are about to receive. Right. You could have done anything, but no, you just like did an inverted Lord's Prayer because you've got the imagination of like a 9-year-old. Like, and
Suck
the
it,
worst
Dad,
part,
I'm gonna say the mean words instead of the nice words,
right?
Yeah.
And the worst
I'm
part,
badass now. I worship the devil now. My girlfriend's a witch.
Is that he's saying it, and his fucking girlfriend is like, "Oh yeah, yeah." I'm just like, "Oh God, fucking stop it!
Cross your legs tighter or something. I can't with you." Just,
Yeah, he says the power and the glory, and she says for a few hours longer, and then they like dig into their meat, and I'm just like, oh guys, whatever.
And poor Malcolm is sitting there like, the fuck.
Can we talk about Malcolm? Malcolm just being like, I used to be real mean to my kid too. Oh really? Did your kid murder your whole family? Wait, hold on. Wait.
Yeah. He's like, Ethan. Ethan's like, my bad, second dad.
That is some shit to drop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It's just, I just really felt for him in that moment because he is trying to do the right thing. God love him. He is jumping in there like, yeah, I made some terrible mistakes. Let me help you not make those mistakes. I'm finally in a position where I can help save somebody else from doing the shit that I did. Oh, good. Oh,
no.
Never mind. This is a little different.
Ooh, this is more than I thought about. Like, I used to make my son feel bad about himself in his masculinity. Oh, right? You know what my son did? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. My son died because I didn't get him medicine. Oh, did he?
Right?
Did your son murder everybody? No.
Not exactly. No. Not really at all like that.
Yeah. I guess our situations aren't comparable.
I just really like it. It reminds me of like, have you ever been in a situation where you knew one party of a relationship and they're telling you all this shit?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wow, what is with this fucking asshole that you're dating? And then all of a sudden you hear the other side and you're like, oh, now this makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. It's not even a moment of just being like, wait, really? It's like, you've grown to know enough about the original party that now you're just like, oh, okay, yep, that tracks.
Now it all makes sense. Yep.
That's what I just felt like with this, where he's like, your dad's real mad at you. I don't understand why he's so mad at you. Why don't you just be nice to... Oh. Yeah, murder is a thing with him.
Yeah,
nope, I see it.
He goes kind of wild every now and then. Bad stuff happens. I gotcha. Yep. I got it. Gotcha. Yeah, I see how you're upset about that.
Oh, God. Malcolm, I'm sorry, buddy, but yeah, you shouldn't have stepped in on that one. You stepped in it. So then what is exactly that sets this whole thing off? Because he says something to Ethan that causes Ethan to say, let me show you. And when the camera turns, she's transformed. Yeah. What is it that his dad says? I've forgotten already. Here, let me
Yeah.
back it up here. Oh, snakes, what are you talking about? Your beloved son and his paramour and are perhaps more ingenious than even you know. And Ethan's looking at him like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Russ,
shit.
what's going on?
Ethan is so fucking fine.
He really is.
Oh, it's not even right. But yeah, this moment of just like his almost like, oh, it's almost a shame that I have to kill you right now because now you know shit, and this would have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, he says they're more ingenious than you know in murder and mayhem. And his father says, "What's this, Ethan?" And he says, "Let me show you." And the camera spins around and she's transformed, gets up and snaps the guy's neck. Ethan gets up and stabs a dude. And then Malcolm gets up and stabs a dude, which shouldn't have surprised me because frankly, Malcolm was about to be arrested and or killed probably by Ethan's dad. But I was for a second just like, wait, what? Like it isn't actually about taking sides, but for an instant it felt like he was taking their side. You know what I mean?
I think it's more, he's just just going to be on Ethan's side. He kind of has to be. I mean, he's kind of ride or die with Ethan right now.
Yeah, I guess that is like he came all the way out here for him and he can't just like drop
He's
that.
going to give him a stern talking to at the end of all of this. Like, he really is. If Ethan thinks he's getting out of this without at least one more dad lecture from one of his 3 dads, he's got another thing coming. But, yeah, Malcolm's not giving up on him. That's what he's here for. He's here for Ethan. Because he knows Ethan's better than this.
Yes. I think that's the main thing is that he can sense something is going on. He doesn't like Hecate, we fucking know, for good reason. So I'm sure he's assigning some of Ethan's attitude to her influence. And so there's a firefight here in the dining room. And then not Ethan's dad, Rusk, has pulled the gun and Hecate is up on the table, crouching and waiting to like, it's basically a standoff between the two of them. While in the other room, Malcolm is holding a dagger right above some guy's eye, which is making me real nervous. Do you remember in John Wick when he's holding the knife above the dude and the guy is holding him off, and rather than continue pushing on it, John just lifts a hand and pounds on the hilt of it like a hammer until it goes into the guy's chest a couple times, and it keeps bouncing back out, but it keeps pushing it back in. I was like kind of hoping that Malcolm was going to do that right here. Except I wasn't hoping because I didn't want to see it. But I sort of thought that might be where we were going with it. And just as it looks like he's going to pull the trigger on Hecate, this dude pulls a gun on Malcolm. He gets shot, which means that everybody's distracted for a second. Ethan shoots Rusk, who shoots Hecate. And so they're all 3 of them are dead, and it turns out that the guy who shot the one who was about to shoot Malcolm was Kaetne, who is alive and looks just fine. What's that about? He was about to die. How is he, like, fine right now? Some shit happened.
Well, they even said, they said, he said, I might be able to pull through this. It's not necessary that I'm going to die. I just have to maybe wait it out. Like, he says that after he gets bitten. He's like, we'll see how this goes. It's going to get worse before it gets better, basically.
And fucking Hecate, like, dies after saying, hell awaits us both. And I'm like, ugh, whatever.
Bye.
Right?
So done with you. Bye.
And Ethan just stares at her like he doesn't really seem upset so much as he is in shock. it's just kind of a weird thing because like I said, had been kind of hoping that he wasn't serious about the whole, turn to evil thing. Then it seems like he was serious about it. But then when she dies, he doesn't seem like, oh, well, now what? He's just kind of like, and still got to kill my fucking dad. Like, so I don't know. I really don't understand what Ethan's head, where it's at, and why he just had this terrible Lord's Prayer.
That really was the worst.
Ugh, I hated it so much. So his father is holed up with his dudes in the chapel that this all went down in originally. And Malcolm is just like, well, how are we going to get in there? And he looks at Kaetenay and is like, well, he's attacked this chapel before, so he knows.
I love that.
That is some cold, hard truth right there, man. And
Kaetenay is like, you're right, and just like slams his rifle together and like, let's do it.
Yeah, that's like kind of my favorite part is that he doesn't blink. He doesn't look rueful. He's not like, oh man, come on. He's just like, yep, perfect, huh?
Good thing I did that. Now I know what to do. You're all mad at me for doing it, but look who was right all along, me.
So they go stand outside the door, and he's like facing down his dad, but they aren't moving, and everybody is on edge here. And then all of a sudden, here comes a shot through the fucking wall. Kaetenay has positioned himself up near the altar, or not, behind the pews, shoots the guy who's on guard on one side of the door, then steps through the hole he made and shoots the other guy. And that basically sends the whole thing off, and they are firefighting amongst the pews, and it's pretty great. I really enjoyed this a lot.
They set it up so it's like a old Western shooting gallery, basically, and it's very similar to what he did in his gun show in the first episode. We've seen other gun shows from him since then, but this is the actual gun where he's doing like the 6-shooter, like pew 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 thing.
Yep.
He actually gets a chance to do that again here, and I was like, yay!
Yeah, he shoots a guy in the foot so that the guy falls down, and then shoots him once he's fallen. I love Malcolm at one point is just training his gun and waiting because he knows where this guy is sitting, and the guy pokes his head up and then just pow. And Ethan, the walking down the aisle and shooting multiple dudes and then pulling another gun when he runs out and shooting the gun out of his father's hand. That was badass. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's how you become a sharpshooter, being able to do shit like that.
Yep.
Well, I'll shoot the gun out of his hand. Yes.
So his dad's just like, yeah, so go ahead, kill me on an altar in a chapel while I'm unarmed. Sure, you're my son. Go ahead and do it. Fuck you. And finally, Ethan decides not to do it, which I was grateful for. And his father's in the middle of this fucking tirade about how I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth and you'll never be free of me. Oh, run away like you've always run all your life. And pop, Malcolm to the rescue. Malcolm's like, he was your father, but he was never your daddy. And I love the look of shock on Ethan's face. Like, it's shock, it's horror, a little bit of just like, what? But also a little bit of like, for me?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have. Like, oh man. Thank you, Malcolm, because I was done with that dude, frankly.
Yeah, just stop talking. Like, I really expected him to just be like, I just couldn't listen to him anymore.
Right?
Like, make him shut the
villain
fuck
monologues. Ugh, am I right? Over it.
Blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
So yeah, that's the end of the episode. So I'm just like, I guess they're just going to go back to London now? Which, I guess. But it feels like... How much more fun would this have been if he just escaped right away and fled somewhere exotic, and it was, I don't know, say Egypt, and he ran into Mr. Lyle there.
Yeah.
And some shit went down, and that was what kept him out of London for a while.
I like that plan. It's a much better plan.
Because I just want more Ethan and Mr. Lyle always.
Yeah, I feel like they needed to resolve whatever his issues were with his dad, and I was not really super impressed with how they decided to do it. I was like, okay, I guess.
Maybe they'll address it more, like what's going on with Kaetenay and his feelings towards him.
Right, because we haven't gotten that whole story yet either.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't. I feel like they set this up, I guess, during the first season that he had, this mysterious backstory. So it was set up so early that they probably didn't realize that there wasn't really a good way to handle it. Mm-hmm. But I wish that they had just had it be resolved. Maybe resolved abroad, like his dad comes and finds him in Egypt, maybe? Right? Release a mummy.
Really want that to happen.
I just want him to hang out with Mr. Lyle, and Mr. Lyle's not going to come to the U.S.
No.
So just have his dad track him down, like actively going and finding him. And it just, obviously is going to ring pretty hollow that his dad is like, oh, you slaughtered your family, when his dad is willing to kill an entire train full of people just to get at him.
Right.
So it would have been cool to have him actively tracking his son. And I'm not sure that he knows his son is a werewolf by now. Like, when he's killed. I don't think he has any idea.
Yeah, we don't get any sign of that, really.
So I'm wondering if the werewolf thing wasn't like a curse that got put on him for his crimes or something, which would be pretty good. Would it? Maybe it'd be pretty bad. I don't know. So anyway, new patrons, what's up? This week, Katie Hansen, Nikki Caro, Karen J. Horlocker, Natalia Shabashova, so good, Rachel Barsness, Adam Ashraf, Yama Castillo, Robin. Welcome to all of you guys. Thank you so much for pledging. You're amazing. And make sure to register at unspoiledpodcast.com, and you can get access to all of our older episodes, and those of you who are $5 and up will get immediate access to me and Maggie talking about Twin Peaks, which we're going to be recording tomorrow. And
Legion.
Oh, Legion is not patrons only. Legion is for everybody. And that
I tried to get onto it the other day on the website, it said you don't have access to this.
Probably
I wasn't signed in.
Yeah, if you're not signed in, because I have it locked. Like, the most recent episode is still locked.
Got it. That
so,
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because patrons get access to episodes 1 week in advance. So, yeah, that's another cool thing. And if you're $10 and up, you're going to be getting a very special postcard in the mail for June, which is going to be designed by Michelle from Hot Wheels and Glue Guns. And she's going to be sending them to me custom made, and they're a surprise. I don't even know what they look like yet. Oh, cool. But it's going to be something Harry Potter related, I believe. So I'm excited about that because the first two were Prongs and Basic Snape, which are great. But, this is the first time I'll have a special one that I haven't seen before, so that's cool. And yeah, make sure to check out facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter at unspoiledshow. And if you would like to support the show, if you've been enjoying our coverage, please leave a review on iTunes. And also, you can support the show by shopping on Amazon at unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to everybody who has been doing that, because I've seen a little bit of an uptick, so it's definitely made a difference. And I really appreciate that. So if you just use unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon and bookmark it, every time you shop Amazon ever, it will still support the show, and you don't even have to think about it. It's just going to be an automatic thing that happens. So you should do that. Miss Maggie, would you like to add anything?
No, I am, well, I guess yes. I am, I said no, and then I kept talking, so I guess I am. I'm going to be guest hosting on this week's episode of The Constant, which is the Lost affiliate podcast with Krista and Jamie. We are going to be covering the episode Lockdown from the second season, and I'm going to be the guest host on that this week, so I'm recording that Wednesday. So I'm doing 5 straight days of recording this week because we did Wonder Woman last night. So yes. I'm busy. And I like that your reaction to me posting that on Facebook was to put down a welcome mat.
Yep.
I'm having a little moment of experiencing a little bit of what Natasha's life is like, except on a much, much, much smaller scale because I don't have to do any of the actual legwork.
Yeah, this week, because we recorded on Sunday, and I have the book club on Saturday, and I'm doing 2 episodes during the day, this is an unusually packed week. Like, my weeks are usually pretty busy, but this one is, I guess that's, 9, or no, that'll be 10 shows, because I also have to do one with Owen. So, yeah, I do too much, but I also, want to do it all. How do you, keep yourself from wanting to do too much? I don't know how to turn that part off or adjust it.
Drugs?
Maybe. I think I'm just really impatient. I want to do, it's not like I can't eventually do all this stuff, right? I just want to do it right now. Well, just calm down, Natasha. You can cover it eventually. But I always have this weird feeling that, by the time I get to it, if I wait too long, nobody will care anymore. I guess on different shows and books and stuff, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But
I mean, it's true of some things, but probably not most.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, guys, if you are interested in listening to our coverage of Wonder Woman, that is going to be offered as a special thank you to everybody who signs up for the Unspoiled newsletter. And the newsletter is not going to be something that I send out that often. So I don't want you to think that I'm going to be spamming you. I have signed up for newsletter type ads from websites to get 20% off shopping or whatever.
And then it's constant.
They will send me 2 a day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
What are you thinking, guys? Do you really think that is going to make me want to keep you on my fucking list? I will unsubscribe from that shit so fast. You send me more than 1 a week, and I'm just done with you. Oh my God. So yeah, I will not be sending you one that often, and it's not just because of me being considerate. It's because they are a pain in the ass. Making newsletter it's just a bitch. So I will be sending them out when I start new shows or when I have a new program. I'm going to be I right now have the fundraiser going on GoFundMe for the trip to Universal, or if there's new stuff coming out about the trip to Universal, that's going to go on. It's just going to be things that a lot of people I will talk about in the wind-up comments at the end of the episode, and people don't listen all the way to the end, and then they're like, wait, you're doing that? Wait, what's this? So the newsletter will just keep you kind of abreast of all that, and you won't have to always be surprised by announcements and posts and events and things. Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, Wonder Woman will be a reward, and it's I think a 2-hour episode, so it's a good amount of listening. Mm-hmm. All right, I think that's everything. You good?
Good.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
was an Unspoiled Network podcast.